Hello, and welcome to Dating is a Joke, where we take dating so seriously that we laugh about it. Today, I've got Jamie Glassman, and I am thrilled to have her. She is hilarious, and she's actually one of the first people that I met when I ventured out into comedy by myself. So, welcome, Jamie.
Thank you. I'm one of the first people you met. That's so special.
Yeah, I walked into back room for one of their Q&A, and I sat next to somebody who was lovely. Of course, her name I can't remember right now, and she was talking to me very nicely. And
Sarah.
then you came into the room and she introduced us. Yes, I remember. I
Yeah, it
remember
was
that
Sarah. I
moment very
remember.
clearly. Jamie walks into a room, you
Yeah, usually
notice.
Jamie walks into a room very chaotically and usually anxious, but like that's
You
fine.
see, that's you think yourself that way because when I remember that moment, it's the total opposite. You came into the room very like with a very like I own this place vibe.
That's insane.
Like the world will stop for me. I'm just like really cool. Like it was though, but it's just funny, right? Like we do see ourselves very differently than other people see us,
I
right?
appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I ask people all the time. I don't trust myself at all. I'm like, what, how am I doing just generally?
Yeah.
Like, what is my vibe right now? And they're just like, why are you like this? So it's fun.
Yeah. I get that from my kids a lot. Why are you like this? To myself sometimes I'm like, why am I like this? But I
Fair enough.
entertain myself quite thoroughly. I'm glad for that. Or else I'd be bored.
That's very important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Amy. Well, thank you for being here, and thank you for being, open to talking to me. Let's start with, if you don't mind, telling us now, what is your current relationship status?
It is single.
You are
It's
single. Okay,
complicated,
great.
but it's single-ish.
I'm very nice to my married, happily married guests, but deep down inside, I'm like, seriously, like, why are you like that? Okay, what
Yes.
is, if your current love life or historical love life had a movie title, what would it be?
He's just not that into you.
My God. Yeah.
I
Okay.
took that question more like what movie represents your life, and
Yeah.
I would say that one absolutely.
Yeah. He's just not that into you. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't think that one needs much more explanation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People are just like, I'm like, hi, like, do you want to hang out? And they're like, no, thanks. And I'm like, all right.
No, thank you. But that's a good question. Do you ever like make a move like that? Like, do you ever sort of approach somebody who you might be interested in?
Oh yeah, and it's like the scariest thing in the entire world to me. And then like if I do and I'm just like, "Do you want to like maybe hang out sometime?" And they're just like, "Actually." And I'm like, "Oh, fuck." Like it's just always so it just rocks my entire world every time that I'm just like, "Why do I do this? I'm not doing this anymore."
Well, but that's really oh, I don't want to use the word brave, but that's just a lot of confidence, right? It's kind of like that
And
whole,
sometimes.
the Wayne Gretzky thing around like you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, right? Like you don't look at
I think what's so much missing from that is
yeah.
like some people just have the ability to like handle rejection or like
Um,
disconnect from putting themselves out there. And that's what how I perceive that like confidence. I think what I am doing is bravery. I
it is
100%
yeah.
agree with that because it is just like like
Afraid and do
horrible.
it
Like
anyway.
it's just and then you do it and then you're just like I didn't feel good about any of this actually. And then yeah, so I think that there's different people that can just be like, "Hey, do you want to go on a date?" And like I've never said that in my entire life. I'd be like so mortified to even say like, "Do you want to go on a date with me?"
Yeah,
Ugh, like
yeah,
gross.
yeah.
No. Like too scary. What if they're just like, "Oh, like you
Hmm.
think we're in love now," and this like in my brain it just like goes into like the scariest territories that we just
Yeah,
like don't even do that at all.
you can do that. Well, but you do approach people that you might be interested in. Like when, time-wise, when's the last time you did?
I mean, like a couple months ago, I also like am somebody that just like is friends with everyone so that if I am interested in somebody, they're in my network and then nobody knows. Like it could be
Mm,
anyone. It's like Clue. It's like I like to keep a wide net of like I am try to be the same with everybody.
yeah.
And then if I do have a crush on someone, it feels significantly less embarrassing because no one will know. And then, but also at the same time, like we've met, I am
Mhm.
not a subtle human being as a whole, like as
Yeah.
a concept. So, it's an interesting life.
Impressed though. I'm like, because I have to say, I talk a lot about dating and but I have never like approached somebody. The closest I've gotten to that is like sending a first message when I match with somebody on a dating app. And even that I rarely do because yeah, I don't know. I don't even know what to say and I feel bad because I'm so critical of messages that I get or how men approach me, but I have no idea how to approach men. Like none whatsoever.
I find it interesting. Like I network a lot and I'm like really good at talking to people. I don't know if you've noticed this about
A little
me.
bit, yeah.
Again, super subtle.
Hmm.
But like I'm really good at like approaching people and just being like, "Hi, my name's Jamie. Like how do you know each other? Like what's your deal? Like what's your favorite sex position?" Like,
Yeah.
like things like that. And I'm just like I find that like there's been a couple like kind of like arcs in my life of like ways that I've kind of like explored like getting more confident with starting conversations or doing that. And I find that really interesting. That's what I love about this podcast is that it gives you an opportunity to see like the humanness of people
Hmm.
of like, yeah, it's awkward and uncomfortable for all of us.
Yeah.
But I find that like if I'm just like reaching out to somebody and being like, hey, do you want to like hang out or do you want to do this thing? And it gives me an idea of like kind of like how they see me right away. But also like the hardest thing for me is patience.
Yeah.
So like sometimes you meet someone and then or you like match with someone and like matching with someone is like -8 in terms of social
Yes,
interaction. Like
absolutely.
when you meet someone,
Yeah.
it's like 0 and then 1, 2, 3. But when you're online, it's like -8. Like
Yeah.
that's not a
I
person
agree.
you know.
Yeah.
This is a random stranger on the internet that
Yeah.
could be anyone.
Hmm.
And like that's not a person. But then we also build up in our heads that like this is somebody that like we like are going from like -8 to like plus 100,
Yeah,
like going from
absolutely.
like 0 like literally -8 to
Mhm.
like we're gonna get married
Yeah,
someday. That's insane. That's insane
that
to
is
me.
so true.
Like we like the way that dating is right now. I know I'm getting like already
No, no, no,
forward in
you're right
whatever
on
we're talking
topic.
about.
You're perfect.
But like where dating is right now, I feel like doesn't make any sense to me because like when like, like our grandparents or our parents were younger, it's like, "Oh, let's go on a date. Let's hang out." There's not the social like bombardment of social medias. There's not the worry about like apps and like whether or not there's just like people coming at you at all angles. And I'm like, I'm overwhelmed. I hate everyone actually. You go from -8 to like negative to like plus 100 and then you're just like, "Okay, like what if I just like want to get to know this person? I don't have to have this intention of dating a literal stranger. I don't know what I want this person to be in my life yet because I don't know them and I don't even know if I have space for them. Now all of a sudden I'm creating space and anxiety in my life for this person that's not even
Wow.
real." And then you're just like, "Okay, cool. Why have I not showered in 3 days?" Like it's
It's incredible though, because
right?
I've given thought to that in the terms of, so like when I was in high school, I mean, there were, people that I liked or boyfriends that I had in like going through high school, but it was always like, because I only have high school as a reference because I got married right out of like high school. I was married by 22. But I realized that that process was different, right? Like you would develop feelings for somebody, and there was always that area of you like somebody before you start dating, right? So you go through that stage where like you get all giggly when they're in the same room, and you get those butterflies, and you're just having conversations. Maybe you're hanging out after school. Maybe they're the person that sits next to you in a class, and those feelings come over time as you get to know them. Where now you're
Yeah.
right on the dating app, you're going in going, oh yeah, okay, we matched because, they wrote, if you're lucky, 50 words on their bio and they have a nice picture and suddenly you're on a date. And my line usually is when things don't go well is, I didn't feel that romantic connection. And I did have one man reply to me saying, I'm not sure how you're supposed to develop a romantic connection after one dinner in a loud restaurant. And he had a point,
Yeah.
right?
I'm
Um,
like, I don't want to fuck you next. Like it's
yeah,
and
yeah.
like I'll admit this for your podcast because I think it's important. But like so I have been seeing someone for a couple of months
Mhm.
and I still feel like it's a trap. I just don't it doesn't feel real. It's kind of like still pretty undefined. It's
Yeah.
just something that feels like it's just going in a progression that like actually like makes sense but also like brings up all of my fears. Where like
Mm.
every day I'm just like this is done. Should I run away? Should I just break up with them before they break up with me? Like,
Oh my
is this even a
gosh.
thing to break up? I don't know. Like it's just all a nightmare. But it's nice also because I'm just like learning things about myself that I've like kind of picked up from like previous relationships or just ways that I've interacted with men and like in high school and stuff like that. I found that like I always like I wasn't a boyfriend person. Like I would have boyfriends, but even saying the word boyfriend always felt
Yeah.
uncomfortable. I think it was just because, as you know from my comedy, my sister always told me I'm a lesbian. So
Yeah.
I felt like that was always like something that I was
Yeah.
just like, am I supposed to have a boyfriend? Should I? I
Yeah.
don't know what's
I might
happening.
be a lesbian. I don't know
Um,
yet. I don't know.
I'm like, I don't want to go down on a girl. So that's
Yeah.
just how I know that that's like not for me. But like at the same time, I think that that's kind of a big criteria.
Mhm.
But at the same time, like I never really like when I was dating like boys, because they were boys in high school
Yeah.
and stuff like that, or even in university, like they'd have to tell me that we were dating. I didn't know. You know, like I'd never like been like this. I went on a date and
Yeah.
then we went on another date and
Mhm.
now we're like, okay, like now we're like having these conversations about like, are we exclusive? Because I'm too scared to ask.
Oh, yeah.
Are we exclusive? Are we like in a like what kind of relationship are we in? Now there's all 17 different types of relationships where I'm just like, I don't know if I want that either. And then like there's all these things where we're just like, cool, like I just don't want to deal at all, actually, and I don't want to have these conversations. But I've had like maybe like 4 or 5 boyfriends from like high school to like now, and like they would have to be like, this is what's happening. And I'm like, okay, cool. Thank you for telling
Huh.
me. I need that information. That's
Yeah.
helpful. Otherwise, I am just like floating in this abyss of like, I am my own person, but should I consider you? I don't know what
Mm.
is happening. So, yeah, I never really got that like dating. Like, I know I have friends that are just like that needed to be in relationships or were always in
Yeah.
relationships all the
Mhm.
time. And I'm just like, that seems like a lot. Like, I was embarrassed to like have a boyfriend. I was like, why are you near me in public? Like, this is disgusting. And now in 34, I'm starting to get to a point in my life where I'm like, that kind of seems nice.
Thanks, Jamie. You know what? Let's go to the wheel and see where else the conversation will take us. Okay, here we go. Ooh. Okay. What's the earliest red flag you ignored because you wanted to see where things went? Have you ever done that? Have you ever had an obvious red flag that you were like,
Yeah, I want people to like me more than anyone they've ever met in their entire life. I ignore all the red flags in order for them to like me, and then I make decisions later, of course. But
oh my God.
like, yeah, as soon as like the biggest red flag is that like they're dismissive of like me and my
Mhm.
feelings, you know? Like that's the biggest red flag. One of the biggest red flags with my like my longest previous partner. I dated them for like 3 years, and that was too much, I think. But they like I get really. They told me when I was being like excited or passionate, like they got overwhelmed,
Ah.
and like that really like was a real big should have been a big red flag for me
Mhm.
because like the fact that like my personality or things that I was getting excited about, whether it was me being passionate about what I do for work or just things that I was excited about, the fact that they would just like try to dim my light, like that was something that should have been like a like red flag right
Yeah.
away.
Now, was it that like they basically didn't care about what you had to say, or was it like strict, like, or was it more like they just didn't match the same energy?
No, they told me that I was being too
Too
much.
much, yeah. Oh, that's a huge red flag there, right
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, they were it was very much like they would literally recoil at me and then like basically like react to me
Hmm.
being like excited. Either they wouldn't be able they didn't feel like they could participate enough in the conversation, so they didn't want to like have it, I guess. I don't know. It
Yeah.
was very much like that kind of was the narrative for a lot of our relationship, which
Hmm.
was like if I was talking about something I was excited about or passionate about, it was too much for him. But if he was talking at me about anything, like that's what he considered a conversation.
Yeah.
Like anything we'd talk about where I was talking about a lot of stuff, it's like, oh, well, if we're not participating 50-50, it's not a real conversation. And yet, like every conversation that about that he'd have with me was just him talking at me or over me. And anytime I try to like contribute to it, it was just like met with like, um, what's the word I'm looking for? Like
Yeah,
disdain,
disdain.
It
Yeah,
was just
disdain.
like not it wasn't fun, and that's the thing that like the big red flag or big green flag for me is like, can I have fun with this person?
Yeah.
But also like, can they be real with me about how they're feeling?
Hmm.
And can we work through like the emotions of like, okay, how you're feeling, especially if it's about me, might feel like kind of like icky for me. Like instead of making that situation about me, do we have space for me to be like, well, this makes me feel this way, but like, how do I feel reassured in this moment and make it about you?
Yeah.
And vice versa. Like if I'm upset about something, like how are they going to react? Are they going to see it as something that like is something we can work on together instead of taking it personally?
Hmm.
And like making it about me versus you. Like that's a big thing that I've learned in like relationships in general, and that's why like I find like being reluctantly straight, I hate it, is so hard because like being able to like communicate as
Yeah.
men and women feels, at least for me, like really like two people that have never met or like had the same experiences in their entire life communicating with each other. And
Yeah.
that's why I find it so interesting because especially as I'm getting older too, and I'm like, dating people. If I am dating people, I don't date really,
Yeah.
but like, if someone has the pleasure of being able to be allowed in my apartment for more than 2 hours, is
Yeah.
basically the equivalent of dating for me. Um, then like,
Mhm. Of
I want to be around someone that I enjoy being around. It doesn't
course,
mean
yeah.
like it has to be fun all the time or it has to be like like I have to feel good all the time. It's just like, do I like still want to be around them? Like, do I still want
Yeah.
to talk to them all the time? Like, what is their energy like? So,
Yeah, and I'm sure,
yeah.
and the thing is that with in this situation, because I mean, I've been in similar situations, is like I want to be around somebody who, yeah, I'm excited to be around, but also that I can tell that they're excited to be around me, that they're interested in what I have to say. And you said something about, if the conversation is not 50-50, and I would say that the conversation doesn't like every conversation doesn't have to be 50-50. Just in the relationship, it needs to be 50-50 as a whole, right? So if I come home and tell
Yeah.
you about my day, right? And I give space for you to talk about your day when you've had a bad day or you've had a great day, but it's a different day. That's great. Tell me. I will sit and listen. I actually love, and this is one of the things that I have a hard time is finding somebody who's passionate about anything. I want somebody who's excited to tell me about whatever. And I've said this a lot where like I don't care what kind of job you have, I don't care what you do, but be excited about something. Have a passion, have a hobby. And that's very hard to find.
Yeah, I should have connected you to my ex-boyfriend. He was excited about a lot of things. I didn't care about any of it.
But
But
he
I
wasn't
tried.
excited about you,
He
right?
wasn't
About
excited
your
about me.
things or
He
about
was
your
excited
things.
about the idea of me, and like that was really like I find that that's a trap that I fall into because like
Mm,
I've been told that I'm like a pretty like magnetic person and that like people are pretty drawn to me and I'm friendly and I know how to interact and I think it's just that I just like don't have I very high functioning ADHD and not and I can also like communicate with people where I feel like it's like a lot of people are quick to be like, oh, like everyone's autistic. And I'm like, I don't know. I think we're just not necessarily like socialized to like socialize anymore.
mm,
So like I feel like a lot for me is like we're used to talking online a lot. I'm used to talking to people in person. Like I've made a lot of friends even during the pandemic of like people like that like I connected with on Instagram
mm.
where like we'd have like similar like professional goals or professional interests. So I'd like connect with them and like do Zoom calls and like get to know people. So I've been on like a bunch of different podcasts multiple times from
Yeah.
people that I've never actually met in person before because like I connected with them in a way that like I feel like a lot of people would also consider brave and I would consider more in that that's where the confidence I think comes in for that as opposed to the dating where I'm like gross. It's too much. So I think that like that's kind of like for me like something that I fall into a trap of because I feel like people are initially drawn to me because like they're curious or they like see like they like I have something in me that they don't have and they want to see if they can like kind of either mirror it or like learn from it or in like a more nefarious sense like take it from me, I guess.
Yeah.
But at the same time like I find that that gives me the way that I am, it makes it a lot easier for me to get a better sense of like what people's intentions are.
Mhm.
And that's why like you know me, like I talk about this on stage all the time. I'm like, I need everyone to love me more than anyone they've ever met in their entire life.
Yeah.
But that's why I love like meeting new people because like there's no one more excited to get to know you or to learn about you than a new person.
Mhm.
you know, and like now like I like having those like interactions, and I love having being able to be around my friends too because I don't see them as much, so I get to like catch up with them and be like, this is what my life is, and they're like, that's insane. So it's just nice, and I find that like when it comes to dating, I have a hard time being able to like focus on one person. And I've always felt that way, that like, especially as a kid, like even just focusing on one person, like I was a lot. Like I had undiagnosed ADHD.
Mhm.
I like didn't know that the way that I was like too much. I was continually being told to like make myself small, don't
Yeah.
be the way that I am. And then I
Yeah.
didn't learn how to like navigate my own personality. I learned to like make myself small and feel like the way that I was wrong. And I find that that translates a lot to dating because
Absolutely.
like
Mhm.
you need to be able to know who you are and what in order to keep yourself safe at the very like
Yeah.
basis of it. And then on top of that, in order to have a real connection with someone, you need to be able to like
Mhm.
be yourself. So that's a lot of what like comedy gave to me, but like
Yeah.
that's also what I'm learning. Just around like the date idea of dating at all, even though I will shut down the second that I feel rejected. So it's fine. That rejection sensitive dysphoria. This is an
Yeah.
education on
Wonderful.
ADHD
It's a great thing to
and
have.
not a day about dating anymore. But yeah.
Oh my
So what
gosh.
were you gonna say?
No, actually, it's awesome. As you were talking, every question I had, you then answered as you kept talking. So like that was like so great. The the things that you're saying actually really resonate with me as well because I find I mean, I was married a long time, but even in my marriage, you're sort of so focused on the other person liking you, right? And you know you're great. You know you're a good time. You know you're fun. You know you're smart. And you kind of put all this energy into giving all those parts of you away. And when that energy is not being reciprocated, you don't feel it at first, right? Because you're so still in the moment of just being wonderful, right? But eventually, you start getting tired, you start getting exhausted, and you don't even realize why until you realize, like, oh, it's that whole sense about filling other people's buckets, right? Like they learn that kids learn that in kindergarten. Like nobody's filling your bucket. You're out there just like throwing, glitter and sunshine to everybody's bucket.
Wonderful. I feel so wonderful. So wonderful. It's true. I had to sing some part of
Musical
Wicked,
number.
even
I
though I got
love
all
it.
the words wrong.
Okay, you're my first
But that's
musical
okay.
number on Dating as a Joke. Thank you.
I'll probably be the last, but that's okay.
It.
Oh,
I love it.
fuck.
You want to do more? I mean, feel free. I'll do a whole segment. Music
Oh
on
my
dating
God.
is a
Where I
joke.
just sing all of, yeah, perfect. Where I
Um,
sing all the songs related to that. It's all
it's very,
Disney
but it
songs.
is. It can be very hard, and it's very easy when you are a people pleaser that way to lose yourself in that, and then it's actually not good for your romantic relationships. And like I know for me, and I couldn't figure out why when I felt like I was doing everything I could, but I wasn't really paying attention and finding the right matches where we were, complementing one another.
For sure. And I like that's so true. And I find that that's something that I get caught up in all the time. And that's why, like, even this time with me, like, I feel like I'm just like, I keep trying to like match energy of like if they're like what are they giving me and what am I giving back? Because I'm somebody that just wants to give so much to so many people
Mhm.
that I end up getting overwhelmed myself that I have to like figure out how to like regulate those feelings too.
Mhm.
And then being in a position where like I'm seeing somebody that I know and that I have known before I started seeing them in this capacity, it's almost like a weird shift where I'm just kind of like, okay, like there needs to be conversations about that, about where that's going, but at the same time, it's also scary to like have those conversations because you don't want to rock the boat. You don't want to find out things about maybe
Yes.
yourself or how they see you that you don't want to, and like you're just like, I just want to live in this like I use Schrodinger's cat as an analogy all the time. Everything in my life feels like is Schrodinger's cat, where like do you know the
I was about
analogy
to say
like
I'm not
the
familiar with the cat.
so it's a psychological like concept where Schrodinger's cat is like there's a cat and it's in a box. And as like the cat in the box is alive and dead. But if you open the box, the cat dies. So it's this whole idea that like when you're like not opening this box, like like all the perceptions of what could be are still real and in there, you know?
Yeah.
But then once you open it, you have to make a decision. You have to learn something about yourself. Like the ideas that you built up in your head
Mhm.
are going to die. And that can sound really negative and scary, but at the same
Yeah.
time, it's also so necessary to know how to like actually like have autonomy and make decisions for
Mhm.
yourself.
Yeah.
But sometimes when I'm so much of me is just like I like having the information in order so I can make the best decisions for myself. But then I also want to live in denial and live in this fantasy world, which are two completely different ways to live and is a nightmare. So it's it's I find very challenging to figure out like when is the right time? What is the best way? And a lot of the time, you just kind of have to, and that's what I like about talking to you and other people about dating and real life stuff like this, because nobody
Yeah.
really knows, and we only can just like kind of trust each moment and
Mhm.
see what it shows us and tells us, what we can learn from it. And hope that like our patience pays off, and if not, like don't feel too bad about
Oh,
it. It's not
yeah.
this whole sunken cost analogy
Mhm.
where like you feel like you put so much work into something that like if you decide to like walk away from it that
Mhm.
it feels like a failure in some way, which it isn't if you've
Mhm.
learned stuff from it.
Yeah.
Is are these all things that I know and can't apply to myself? Yes, absolutely. So
Mhm.
life.
Yeah. I talk about this in my sets sometimes. I've just recently stopped starting all my sets with celebrating my 5 year divorce anniversary. But in one of my sets, I said, 25 years is not a failed marriage, and I kind of say it jokingly and compare it to a prison sentence. But but it's true, right? I was in this very long-term relationship. It didn't work. In hindsight, I don't even know how we stayed married as long as we did. However, I learned so much after. Like, I don't know how much I learned in the relationship because I was so like in it. But now, over the last 5 years, looking back, there's so many places where I can see the role that I played, right? In the failure of the marriage ultimately, and start making plans and working towards changing those things so that they don't impact other relationships. And also I'm able to look back and see red flags that I ignored,
Yeah.
right? And look at, oh, that the fact that I ignored those red flags also contribute, right? Like I like to really look at things from the responsibility, my responsibility in the relationships, right? So sometimes, like, I used to have really, really bad dating experiences all the time. Like, it was just constant. That doesn't happen as much anymore, even though I'm still on the apps. But I attribute that. I don't think that people on the apps just changed overnight. I think that my behavior has changed, the way I approach, the way I speak, the things I say, the way I present myself has changed, and all that
Huge.
is
Yeah, and your
huge,
reaction to
right?
stuff makes a huge difference. Like
Yeah.
how you read stuff, how you internalize it, how you like react to it. And I think that that's so like so important, you know? Like
Mhm.
everything that you just said I think is so so important because so much of like our experiences as people is like trying to make up for the mistakes we made. Like when I got out of my relationship, like I was a mess and like so much of me was just like lost. Like I'd lost so much of myself
Mhm.
and I made myself feel so small from especially because I thought I'd found somebody that really like could see me and be there for me and yet they just kind of chipped away at me for like 3 years and like at the same time too like I had a lot of like emotional regulation issues. I had a lot of self-worth issues. I had a lot of like anxiety and like stuff going on where like I wasn't really taking accountability for myself in this way. So it's like who I was then isn't who I am now. And it's so hard not to like look back at that and be like about putting like blaming and fault, their fault, my fault. It's more just about like we weren't compatible. And a lot of the time I find that once we've gotten out of something that like feels like incompatible, you spend so much time avoiding though getting into those situations again. And I feel like that's part of why I've like closed myself off to like dating so much in general. Like I have maybe gone on the apps before. When I first got out of my relationship, like one of my favorite things I did is that I went on Field. Do you know what Field
I
is?
know Field, yes. Yeah, I know Field.
Yeah, so like for your listeners that don't know, if you
Yes.
haven't talked about it yet, Field is like an app that like is sex positive where you can talk about like your kinks and stuff. And it really like I honestly didn't really have much intention of like meeting anybody from those apps. It was more just like a way for me to kind of explore like different interests, things about myself or like
Yeah.
my like how I what I considered to feel like sexy or like intimate meant for
Mm-hmm.
me, so I could
Yeah.
explore like different types of kinks and different types of like of conversations with men that
Yeah.
like I'd be too scared to have with somebody in my life, you
Of
know?
course.
And I think that that really helped me feel like a deeper sense of like sexuality for myself,
Mm-hmm.
like feel more connected to myself, like helped my self-worth as well, just to kind of like have a little bit more control over like how I am perceived also, how I want to be perceived, but also how I want to feel. So I think that those are also like competing narratives too, because it's like how I want to feel versus like how I want to be perceived, like
Yeah.
are not necessarily like always aligned because one's about the public perception and one's like internally and could be something about like short-term feeling like
Mm-hmm.
dopamine or like how you want to feel as a whole, which is like happiness. Which feels elusive and unattainable, you know?
Yeah, right. Now that you bring up an interesting point around, using that app to explore these different parts of yourself and to learn more about all these different things, because I find that like and I'm saying this as a human being, not even as a woman, but and as a man, as anybody, how do you find yourself? How do you learn those things in a world, at least that I was raised as, right? Where like you get married, you have kids, you live in your happy little, traditional nuclear family, right? Like that's the world that I was raised in. And you don't have conversations or get any education on pleasure, sexuality, anything really, right?
Yeah.
And I think that that's actually part of the problem. So I always say that when I first started dating, I would get a lot of unsolicited pictures from men. And I always like, even though like I joke about it and stuff, I say I don't think that the pictures are the problem. I think that that points to a deeper problem about that men might have about their worth and what they bring into relationships and thinking this is the end all and be all. But I think with women, it's almost a little bit of the reverse. I think sometimes women are a little bit more afraid to explore the sexual or intimate side of things because we live in a society that basically says, don't do that. You're a certain type of woman if you're doing that, right? So it's interesting that because again, were you like, I'm guessing maybe were you in like your mid-20s when you did that, or you were,
I was like in my late 20s. I
yeah.
was only like I was well, it was my mid 20s. I think so. I was like yeah, it was my late 20s. I'm 34. Yeah, it was like 6 or 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Um but I find that that's really important to like because I think the psychology of it is that we all just want to be seen.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of like the like unsolicited dick pics is essentially like
Somebody
people
wants to
wanting
be
to be
seen.
seen. Like they're like, look at my dick. Like I want to be seen. I want someone to see it, you know? Like
Yeah.
tell me it's kind of the same idea as a girl being like, tell me I'm pretty. You know?
Yeah.
It's
Well,
like
it's
I
funny
want to be
because without
seen that
fail,
way.
yeah, without fail,
And
every pick I got would be followed by a question, and it was one of three things. Do you like it? What do you think? Or just like a question mark. Like those were the
yeah.
three, no matter who it was, those were the three
I'm like,
things.
I'm
And then like,
glad that you have this like really generic
yeah,
like response. Like you just gave me like a gold bracelet. Like I'm supposed to have this like reaction. You're like, give me a second. I'm experiencing trauma. Can you
yeah.
give me a
Still
moment to
trying to
figure
figure
out
out
how
what
I
this
feel about
is.
this whole experience? But yeah, no, like I find it interesting because like to your point about like how we grow up in like these nuclear families, but then like I found that like there wasn't a ton of like communication
No, no.
around like relationships in my family. It was all just like you're doing things right or you're doing things wrong and you don't learn about it until after you've done
Yeah,
it. So like that's really unhelpful as a concept. And then like when I to your initial question of like how do you like talk about like where do you go from here? Like in terms of like figuring out your sexuality and your self-worth and who you are and like all of these things. And like so much of like where we're at right now is looking for like a solution, like the right thing. And it's really just about what helps us get to the next. So I find that like for me, like therapy was incredibly
yeah.
helpful.
Hmm.
Being able to get to like I did a bunch of courses on like navigating my ADHD. I hired a coach once that was about like sex and confidence, just to kind of like
Oh,
have somebody that I felt like I could trust to talk to
yeah.
about these things that were taboo. And then
Mhm.
I had more conversations with my close girlfriends, like
Mhm.
about like things like masturbating, about
Mhm.
things we like in bed, like being able to talk about like details about things that
Yeah.
like we might have been insecure about in the
Mhm.
past, like what we want, like what is like pleasure feel like to you. And I think that like the more you can have these conversations with people, the more it feels normalized, because you actually get to like be a little bit like released from your own shame. And I
Yes.
think that that's a big thing. I
Mhm.
was watching a special, like a stand-up special the other day, and it was a male comic, and he was actually, it was amazing. And
Yeah.
he was doing this one, this bit about how like typically with dating, like women tend to feel like a lot of intense shame. And I find that that was really true for me.
Yeah.
Like being able to admit that you have a crush on someone feels like this intense shame. Like
Yeah.
a lot of the time we're scared to admit that we want something, or else because we're scared that they're like just asking for any of our needs to be met. Like
Yes.
there we're
Mhm.
met with this like shame or this risk of being shamed and having our whole sense of self be like muddled or like devalued or like made to feel small. And it can be so defeating as like
Yeah.
a person that like you're,
Mhm.
especially if like your desire is to be with a like a straight man, it is very hard to navigate like that
Yeah.
layer of like who am I, what will I and will I not tolerate, and a
Yeah.
lot, and what do I need to compromise in order
Mhm.
to like be with somebody that is so different from me? Because that's really what it is, right? Like someone that's so, and everybody's so different. And I wish there was one thing to say like, oh, this thing or this thing or this
Yeah. No.
thing really like changed the game for me. And comedy really did help me get a better sense of self, not only because I was had to figure out for myself how to speak about myself in this
Mhm.
way so consistently,
Yes. Mhm.
but also because I was around people that were doing the same and also
Mhm.
able to give me feedback on who I am and who I am on stage,
Yeah.
which I felt really helped like connect the help me show up more
More.
authentically
Yes.
on
Mhm.
stage. And then also talking about things like female pleasure and just like having it be like everybody's talking about their dick on stage. Why can't I be curious
Mhm.
about myself? You know? And
Yes.
I think the biggest thing for me is curiosity, like in anything that I've
Mhm.
done, like anytime I'm feeling myself spiraling or moving away from like
Yes.
trying to change
Mhm.
myself or control, I just go back to like, how can I be curious? And sometimes it takes me longer than I'd like to get to that point.
Yes, absolutely. I get
And
that.
you're
Yeah.
just like days, weeks, years, you know,
Mhm.
but at the same time, like the more we can like learn from our experiences, like that's the way we figure out how to move forward. And sometimes there's this immense, immense pressure to like figure it out now and quickly,
Mhm.
but there isn't. It's we all go through like life in our own way, in our own pace, and the more we try to rush it or force it,
Mhm.
the more we're doing it in order to get this like, you know, satiation for ourselves to feel like better, but
Mhm.
it doesn't actually like give us any reassurance that the future is going to be like secure
Yeah.
by
No.
getting that
Absolutely
reassurance
not.
now. And
Yeah.
I constantly have to tell myself that to ground myself, because it's just like so hard not to get wrapped up in it, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now, you mentioned something when you were talking about, opening up those conversations with your girlfriends, right? Do you have like a good support group, a good set of friends that you can have these conversations with? Do you find your friend group open to having these conversations? Did you find it
Oh,
difficult to kind of break the
100%.
ice? Okay.
Yeah, like one of my best friends, like my
Hmm.
best friend, she's the best person in the world. And she like two I have two like best friends,
Hmm.
and they're the people that I like talk to about everything. And they're the people that like actually made me feel more comfortable about like
Mm,
talking about these things. Because my friend, like, we're people that we love to hear this other side of it.
yeah.
But I'm not someone that's always felt super confident like expressing it myself. Because I'm like, well, I was
Mm,
worried. I'm like, what if what I'm doing is weird? What if it makes me a bad person?
yeah.
You know, like what if it's fucked up? Like what if like it's something that like will like alienate me from society
Hmm.
or the people I
Hmm.
know? Like these things can get so built up in your head, and yet men have no issue being just like punch me in the face. You know, it's just
Yeah.
like it's crazy to think about that to me. But a
Hmm.
lot of the time, like I these are friendships that like I've built over the last 20 years
Yeah.
that I'm starting to be able to feel like we can have more of these vulnerable
Hmm.
conversations, and how to have these conversations and what they look like, and how to like it almost involves like a certain level of like self-care,
Yeah.
and not in the sense of like candles and like woohoo shit.
Yeah.
It's like
No.
we have to have like, especially like in terms of like if you're going to get into like kinks or certain like kind of like riskier like sex play, there's going to be that recovery. You know,
Yeah.
you need to have that like aftercare.
Hmm.
And I feel like that's something that I feel like needs to be um, more normalized in our lives, where
Hmm.
we need to have like conversations that can make us feel safe, but also how to like
Yes.
recap from that and be like, how did you feel about this? Like,
Yeah.
how do we make sure that we're walking away from this without feeling insecure about what we just said?
Said, yeah.
You know, like
Hmm.
how do we like go like have these conversations where, or if we've had like, for example, like I find we're in a boundary setting era, but we're not so much in a repair.
Mm, yes. Oh,
Um,
yeah. Very well said. Yeah.
so like everybody's about setting boundaries and
Mhm.
respect my boundaries, and like it's basically we're all just trying to control and trying to
Yeah.
create rules instead of using them as an opportunity to actually express how we feel. This is not for me. That's fine. How do you react to this? This
Hmm.
tells me about how I can engage with you moving forward. And then it's about each other's like ability to react and regulate in order to navigate that
Yeah.
control. And then on top of that, it's like how can we repair when we've had an argument? Like I've had a
Hmm.
lot in the last 5 years. I've had a lot of like friendships come and go,
Hmm.
and the ones that I know are going to stay with me for the rest of my life, and they're not the ones I thought they were, and that's why it's so devastating. But the French, and I feel like like friendships and dating are so synonymous because it's all about being able to like maintain relationships.
Okay.
And the ones that I've like really know I'm going to be like stay friends with for the rest of my life, whether they're people I've known for 20 years or for like a year, are the ones that like I've been able to have hard conversations
Stations.
with, and
Yeah.
we're able to come and maybe have a fight and then come back to it and be like, now that I'm regulated, or now that I can see this a little bit differently, like let's talk about this.
Yeah.
Let's talk through it. Let's make sure that we can like talk through this without getting emotional again or without
Hmm.
overreacting, and have those repair conversations to know how to move forward. And I
Yeah.
find that that is like, I find a lot of us get into this trap, especially in romantic relationships, from my experience, is like, I don't feel heard and I can't hear you until I feel heard.
Yeah.
And that is where we all end up falling into this trap of lack of communication. Of
True.
like I can't I like I'm too upset to like hear like how what you're saying about me makes me too
Yes.
upset to
Hmm.
be able to react to you, so
Yeah.
like I can't give you your space to process because it feels too bad for me right
Hmm.
now. So like that's where I need to get to, in a point where like I need to figure out, oh, my earphones just are dying, but that's fine. Are they both, did they both die? No, only one of them did, so that's good. um but yeah, can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, no problem.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think that like that's like a big thing for me around like relationships and being able to like navigate these things, is being able to like have a support system and knowing how to build your support system in a way that feels safe for you, and also knowing that like the scariest part about life is that like things come and go, and like the people that you may trust with like your most vulnerabilities may someone that might feel like a complete stranger,
Yeah.
and that's okay and
Hmm.
that's normal and human. But for a long time I held on to relationships and friendships that like weren't healthy for me because I felt obligated to, or I felt like we'd been through too much, that like it would be too much of a loss. And when you realize that you can actually let go of that and be freer in a way, it's better.
Yeah. Wow. Coming into this, we had said that we could probably talk for hours because I'm like, there is so much gold in what you just said, and so many things that I think we could dissect and go into because your everything you said is on point. And like I said, it makes me so happy to see people who you are considerably younger than me coming into these realizations so like early on in your lives, right? Because and after being married for so long, and I mean I didn't start seeing a therapist until I was in my 40s, and I'm grateful for it now, but sometimes I wonder like how valuable and how different my life would have been if I had this level of self-awareness, before. And one of the things we were talking about is one of the things that I'm constantly working on is that when I'm having an uncomfortable conversation with somebody, to come to it from a place of listening and understanding, right? Because we're
Yeah.
just always so ready to respond. We're always so ready to defend that. And this goes, like you said, for all relationships, not just romantic relationships. I see it in my relationships with my kids, with like with my parents, with my friends. In romantic relationships where it's like, okay, something's difficult. How do I come into this? Or when I start feeling triggered, at least I'll give you this. I'm able to kind of notice now when I'm getting triggered. And sometimes I still bite and am a mess. But sometimes I'm able to be like, okay, I'm starting to feel away. This is my cue to, instead of like attacking, right, to actually step back. But this is something that I have to constantly be reminding myself of constantly.
It's exhausting and it's hard, and like the practicing is the and identifying it is the win.
Hmm.
And like all this stuff that I know like are not things that I can practice all the
Good
time.
time, yeah.
Like, and a lot of the time we think that like we failed if we haven't had like the perfect ability to
Hmm.
like can maintain our composure in every situation because we know better. Like that is an insane statement. This "we should have known better" is used against us throughout our entire childhood
Hmm.
and into our adulthood, where it's just like you should have known better. And I'm like, but also I knew what I knew at the time. And I did what I
Yes,
could with the
exactly.
information I had at the time.
Yeah.
And like all you can do is like it's like anything, whether it's exercise, whether it's like our nutrition, whether it's like our ability to navigate stress, what it's anything in life where like we're not going to be perfect at it, but it's going to get easier to figure out the right thing to do and how to navigate and regulate as you
Yeah.
practice it. And it's always going to be something that you can learn and get better at, and you'll have moments where you slip back and you go back into old habits because our nervous system is trying to protect us, and that's what it's supposed to do, supposed to. But at the same time,
Yeah.
like it's a constant journey of figuring and trying. And like I'm in the same position. I lose my shit like every day, especially because I drive a lot in the city. Like I how like there should be PTSD
Yeah.
groups for
And
people
you
that
bike
drive,
a
like
lot in
just
the summer
specifically.
too, right? Like you're on your bike? Oh,
Yeah, that's easier. That is
oh, is it
less
easier?
frustrating
Okay.
because I'm at least moving
Okay.
and like it's letting out my rage. You know, when I'm in the car, there's nothing to let out my rage
Yeah.
other than listening to Wicked every single day and then screaming in my car. Like screaming. Like I know that you're confused because you don't see me as a person that would do that, but
I'm telling
it's
you,
screaming.
I see you as such like a cool and collected person.
That's insane because
Like when
I'm
you used
not
the
like
word
at all.
chaotic earlier to describe yourself, I was like, what? No. You know what this means, Jamie? We
You
need to
don't
spend
see
more
the
time together
inside.
so
I
that
think we
I can
do.
see
I
this
think that
side of you.
it's you're only gonna it's only gonna get worse, but it's fine. It's or more fun depending on how you
For
look at
more
it.
fun, yeah.
But it's a fun vibe,
I
I
think it'd
think.
be
I'm
fun.
glad that you think so.
Oh God,
I'm
I'm
glad that you
telling you,
think I seem composed.
I absolutely,
That's
I
funny.
didn't expect when I started doing comedy, because I've only been in this since April. I really did not expect to meet so many people I would like. I really didn't. Like, I just thought I would, meet like sort of people that I'd say hello to, and it just be kind of randoms, and I'd go and I'd do my thing. And now it's like I have met so many people who I like legitimately like. Like I legitimately like. I legitimately like go to a place. Like when I go to back room, like I'm hoping that I'm good that certain people are gonna be there and then I'm gonna run into
It feels
people.
like
Like
university or high school. I think we're lucky that like I think that this is the time where we like meet and make all our
yeah,
friends too. And it's fun because like we all like are like different ages and different stages of our life, but we all have this one thing that binds
yeah.
us. And I think that that's really special. And I think like that's what I love about it too, is like
Mhm,
I didn't expect to find a community in myself that like I really needed my whole life. And I
mhm.
didn't know that this was it, you know? Like I kept trying to find it in like athletics because I grew up doing karate.
Mhm.
Like I thought I like, and then once I like left karate, it was just like it wasn't the same, you know. And then like trying to find it in like my like professional like areas or just things that I like were interested in. But like comedy was really just like the thing that was like this is the community that I needed
Yeah,
as an outlet, you know, as like
yeah.
a support system. And it's really shown up for me in a way,
Mhm.
and also taught me a lot about like exactly navigating all the things that we
All of
talked
this,
about.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Same here. I've been pretty lucky, and I always say, I fully admit the privilege that I've had because I've had a very good career. I was married a long time. I have great kids. Like everything looks perfect, right? Like the inside, everything is perfect. And on the inside, I just always struggled with there's something missing. Like there's just something missing. And then I'd feel guilty about that because there shouldn't be anything missing because all of the external factors were there, right? Everything that I should want in my life was there. Um, and now I started doing comedy, and I, for the first time in my life, feel fulfilled. Like now it's like that was the missing piece. Because again, everything, not that everything's perfect at all, but I find that it's also a little bit of my escape where when my brain is just going nuts about everything else, I've got somewhere to go And then I know I'm going to run into a bunch of people who are just going to make me laugh and are good. And they are so detached from my personal life that there's no like connection to that, right? So nobody's going to bring up anything in my real life. And then when I'm on stage, it's like everything just stops, right? Like it's just that moment. And then you get a laugh and everything's good in the world again. So it's a bit like
Yeah,
a,
like the
it's
fact
my
that
dopamine drug.
getting like I watched Bill Burr's most recent stand-up special and it was
Oh, I
amazing.
haven't seen
And
it.
like just even like the intro of it, he has this whole thing where he says like, I thought I started doing stand-up because I loved stand-up,
Hmm.
but what I really loved is that stand-up was a way that I could walk into a room full of people that I didn't know and get them to like me as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is so
So
relatable. And that really rocked my world a lot because I was like,
hmm.
I thought that I was being this way because I wanted to help people and I wanted to, and I just was this, you know? I
Yeah.
thought I was just trying to, like, I was trying so hard to just be a good person. But really, like, when you really just let yourself be real with yourself and you're like, I'm doing this actually because I want people to like me and I want to feel safe and I want to feel seen and I want to speak
Hmm.
my mind. I want to be able to be seen, you know? Like
Yeah. It's
it can
selfish. It
actually
is
be so
actually very
freeing because you're
selfish.
just like it is, but it also is
Yeah,
okay.
it's fine. It's good. It's absolutely good, right?
And it's good for us to admit it, you know?
Hmm.
Like it's good for us to like not feel like being selfish is a crime. Being selfish is is not a bad thing unless you're doing it intentionally to hurt people.
Yes.
You
Absolutely.
know, like if you're doing something for yourself, that's good. Like do that, you know, and then we get confused about whether or not it's good or bad or social or whatever,
Yeah.
the social norms or politics or whatever. I don't want to deal with that, but
Yeah. It's
still.
a win-win,
But yeah,
right? I feel like you like me and you laugh. Like we both
yeah,
win, right?
exactly. And if you don't, I'm gonna cry later. It's okay. No, I'm kidding.
Like,
But
oh my God, that is very true. All right, Jamie, I have to say, I think you are my first guest where we are able to go the whole time on one spin of the wheel.
that's perfect. I
Yeah,
feel
that
like we
is
could have done the
absolutely,
entire time without any spins of the
yeah,
wheel.
I know. I think we would have done just fine. Um, Before we wrap up though, Jamie, where can people find you?
You can find me on my comedy account at JAIME dot unhinged or my professional account, which is the Movement Maven.
Oh, the Movement Maven. Okay, I have to find you there. I have not found you there. I will do that.
We're always learning new things about each
I
other. That's
am.
the beautiful thing of a new
It's
relationship,
just,
you know?
yeah, exactly. Okay, Jamie. Well, thank you so much. This has been absolutely wonderful. And I know that when I'm editing this, I'm gonna be like, oh, I have questions, I have questions. So I'm gonna need to have you back again to explore some more. But you've shed a lot of insight on a lot of things.
Part
Thanks
two and
again.
three of deep dives. No problem.
And thank you,
Thanks for
everybody,
having
for
me.
listening. Make sure to find Jamie on Instagram, find out where her shows are. I promise you, she is hilarious and super cute. And follow me at Diana B Comedy, and we'll see you next time on Dating is a